He knocked me over. I landed on the dog bowl.
This one's wife. What the hell is that? Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. As you are aware, this one's wife has appeared on somebody else's podcast, subjecting the world to more of her fridge magnet platitudes, industrial beige word salad, and general drudgery. I've analysed some of the aspects of that video so far. However, there is a trailer for it, and this also bears examination to once again demonstrate the ridiculousness of this one's wife and the way that her narcissism functions. I'm going to play you the short trailer. I would advise you that it contains scenes of poor acting, and therefore you should steel yourself accordingly. Here comes the clip.
Careful, Meghan. The tea is hot.
Now, I'm going to get to various aspects of this clip in a moment, but the first thing that stands out is what the hell is that? Yes, this. You can see it pouring out of the teapot. That's not tea. It's water. Doesn't even look hot. It's water. It's not tea. The tea has not brewed. There's been a failure to pour boiling water into the teapot to warm it first, then removing that water and then placing in the tea bags, or tea leaves if you prefer, adding the boiled water and then allowing it to brew. That is just water. Water. It's meant to be tea. It isn't tea. This is a gross offence to those of us who are tea drinkers. It is an absolute aberration to include this in the trailer when you're talking about tea, because there isn't any tea. It's water. Water pouring out of a teapot into a teacup and then handled by a mediocre actress. Absolute asinine nonsense. One suspects that it might just be the shitty tea that this one's wife hawks, that somehow that forms the brew, and that's why it's almost clear. That's why what you see isn't properly brewed tea that you will sit back and enjoy and perhaps even release a of satisfaction, but rather that you're subjected to an imitation of tea, a facsimile of tea that isn't actually tea, an attempt at tea, a fabrication at tea. It's water. Water being poured from a teapot into a teacup. Absolute heresy in full motion. And then, of course, we have this one's wife then spilling the tea. Oh, ho, ho, ho. Yes. Well, first of all, she raises it up to her mouth, demonstrating that she doesn't know how to use a teacup properly. No surprise, really. She'd have been shown when she was in the royal family, but of course the lessons don't sink in with her because she always knows better. You lift both teacup and the saucer when you are drinking your tea, and you don't grasp it like a mug. But no, we have this one's wife attempting to drink the tea and demonstrate that, oh, look, I've spilt the tea. I've spilt it into the saucer. Cue the host coming on and saying, careful with that tea, it's hot, whilst this one's wife looks on with a wry smile. It is a pathetic trailer involving a pathetic actress. Once again, we have an attempt by this one's wife to try and look seductive while she's drinking the tea. You'll notice that there is she's how heavily made up she is. She's back to being bronze woman, and then, oh look, she spills the tea. She doesn't just spill it into the saucer, she slops it all over the table, all over the bench top, whatever it is that the tea set is resting on. And then looks to the side, all smiley smug, as Emma Greed appears and announces the arrival of the podcast. It's ridiculous. This is an actress that can't act, and she's demonstrated it once again because she doesn't know who she actually is. But worse than that, and I think you'd be hard-pressed to find a trailer that is so dull and ridiculous as this one, is the fact that it doesn't actually include any tea. It's meant to be about tea. I'm not letting this drop. I think you can tell that I am irritated by it. That she is meant to be having tea, she's meant to be spilling tea, she's meant to be taking tea, she's meant to be drinking tea. And instead, what do we get? Nonsense. Utter nonsense. As water, possibly not even warm water at that, is poured from the teapot. In a way, though, it is an excellent representation of this one's wife, isn't it? It demonstrates that she isn't authentic, despite her attempts to tell us that she is. And it's all the more amusing because she appears on a video, on a podcast, talking about being authentic, when the trailer for that podcast demonstrates that she's not, because they can't even get the tea right. How difficult would it be to create a luscious, golden brown, heady brew, ready to discharge in a stream of inviting caffeine-infused loveliness into that teacup? Not difficult at all. But it appears to be difficult for this clown as she partakes in this chicanery of pouring warm water into a teacup and then lifting it up as if she was cradling a mug of soup, rather than actually daintily drinking the tea in the manner by which it ought to be drunk. Once again, this one's wife participates in a farrago of ridiculousness that is allied with her attempt at looking seductive and sexy, whilst once again, what does she actually signal to us all? That she's a fraud. That she appears in a trailer for a podcast where she talks about authenticity. That she appears in the trailer for a podcast which is meant to be about spilling the tea. And yet again, something that this one's wife is involved in doesn't work. It doesn't work because there isn't actually any tea in it. I don't think it's even one of her shitty as-ever teas that comes out of the teapot, although I could stand to be corrected, because you may have noticed that when she lifts the teacup, it has a slightly lemony yellow hue to it, which might suggest that some kind of tea bag was placed inside, but it's not tea as we know it. It's some kind of ridiculousness. It isn't some delicious tea that has come from Fortnum & Mason, or even the stoicism of Yorkshire tea. No. This is either just pure warm water or one of her shitty, weak as ever teas that she's inflicted on an audience in an orgy of fraudulent activity that we have come to expect from this one's wife. You might ask, as I did, what the hell is that? Pouring tea when she's meant to be spilling the tea, and there isn't any actual tea. This one's wife summed up in a short clip once again. I'm HG Tudor. Thank you for watching.